Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another one of my FutureFight Vanguard series. I know it's been, I guess, a bit since we've done a FutureFight on the channel, but that's because I'm starting to implement all of the other new series, but we are still going forward on the catch-up train that is our FutureFight series right now. I'm pretty sure I'll get a lot of them done this weekend, if not a good amount of them. But right now we're chugging through the Bermuda set, so we are starting the Bermuda set after doing the GB8 series for so long. So yeah, today we're going to be discussing the Chouchou deck. Let's get right into that, because I don't think I have anything else to say about that. We're going to unflip our strides here as usual. So for those of you who have like waifu fever or whatever, like this is gonna be the next few videos for you. But starting with our grade 3, now this deck reminds me very much so of Luard. It kind of plays similar in a way. It's just like a Bermuda style of Luard. So they gave us this new archetype named Chouchou or Chouchou, however you would like to pronounce it. I say Chouchou, so they give us this new archetype called Chouchou, and they gave us this new grade 3 Tira or Tirua. And Tirua pretty much does like equivalent to what Luard does. So I'll explain what I mean further by that, like deeper in the video. But basically, for now, what it does is it has two abilities. The first ability is when your G unit strides, you can counterblast 1, and if you do, you reveal the top card of your deck, and then you can put it into your hand. And if that card was a Chouchou card that you revealed from the top, you can choose one of your rear guards, put it to the bottom of your deck, and draw a card. So the whole Chouchou mechanic seems to be like very revolved around putting cards to the bottom of your deck and either drawing a card or putting something to the bottom and doing something else. So it keeps your deck amount in a good state because you're able to just put cards to the bottom and draw. So you're not really like plussing. You're just like hit and running with your cards for the most part. So yeah, it's pretty good. I like it a lot. And you can also put back triggers with this same method as long as you don't like guard with them or something. Like, unfortunately, there's no way to put triggers back from the drop zone, which is an edge that Luard has over the Tirua deck, as well as having like access to retire and all of that stuff. But just talking on like a base level of just a pure Luard deck, basically Luard has Belial Owl as their crit, and their crit can return to the deck, and our crit in the Chouchou deck cannot return to the deck from the drop zone. So any other trigger that you draw, though, however, can return as long as you don't guard with it. So it's pretty good in that respect. The second ability is Generation Break 1. During your ride phase, if the number of rear guards is 1 or less on your field, then you can stride without paying the stride cost. So you can stride for free. So here's some like pros and cons that I like about Tirua and some things that I don't like about Tirua in comparison to Luard, since I compared it to Luard. Luard has to, number 1, be Ritual. So Ritual 3 is like, I would say getting Generation Break 1 is way easier than getting Ritual 3. Even though getting Ritual 3 in the Luard deck is like, you know, it's pretty easy. But Generation Break 1 is literally like just stride. And then the way that its skill is worded too, it is a continuous skill. So whereas Luard has to be already on the field and then perform its ritual skill to stride for free, Tirua just says, hey, I'm on the field and it's GB1, then I stride for free. Like, I've had so many times where I ride the backup grade 3 in this deck, Mirrits, and for about a turn, like, it only takes really a turn to find Tirua through all the ways that you have to go through your deck in this deck. So it only takes about a turn to find Tirua, and then once you do, if you have 1 or less rear guards, you can just ride Tirua and then stride for free. But with Luard, you can't do its skill. You can't stride for free on the turn that it's like ridden, because Luard is at the beginning of the ride phase. So once you ride Luard, you're no longer at the beginning of the ride phase, so you can't do the skill anymore. But Tirua was not worded in that same way, so I really like that. Allows you to just, you know, not really hurt as bad when you have to ride, because like sometimes in Luard, like you have to find Luard for a while, number 1. Then you have to play Luard and then stride with like 1 or 2 cards, so you're still like losing cards from your hand, and riding. So Tirua kind of helps fix from that cost, where you can just ride and then stride for free. Moving on, we have Chocho Mirits. So what Chocho Mirits does, it's actually one of the key cards of the deck. Like, I really like this card. It's really good in my opinion. Like, the only thing that can make it busted is if it drew a card, but it does not draw a card, so it's just a solid card. Basically, its ability is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can choose one of your other rearguards with Chocho in its name and put it on the bottom of the deck. And if you do, you choose a grade 2 or lower card with Chocho in its name from your hand, and then you call it to rearguard, and it gets plus 4,000 power. So it allows for multi-attacks. Like, it's kind of like a Chocho version of a Spica, in my opinion, or a Spica. So yeah, pretty solid card. Moving on to Chocho Blanche. What Chocho Blanche does is when this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, you can Soul Blast 1 and choose one of your other rearguards with Chocho in its name and put it on the bottom of your deck. And if you do look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal 1 card with Chocho in its name. And then if it's you have to reveal 1 card name with Chocho in its name that's not named Blanche. So you cannot add a Blanche off of Blanche's skill. But you can look at top 4, reveal a Chocho, and then put it into your hand, and then Blanche gets plus 2k for until the end of the turn. So I like Blanche, and I don't like Blanche. Like, I like her because she's a kind of solid Chocho card, but there's not that many options to go with since the Chocho like sub archetype just came out. Basically, there's not that many Chocho cards, so there's not that many options to pick and choose from. So Blanche is kind of one of the best options you have at the moment, until we get some more Chocho support. So yeah, that's why we run her. Then we run 4 Chocho Ayana. So what Ayana does is when your other rearguard with Chocho in its name is put into your deck, you can counterblast 1 and put this unit on the bottom of your deck. And then if you do, you get to draw a card and choose a card with Chocho in its name from your hand, and then play it to rearguard circle, and it gets plus 3,000 power. So this card is actually like a Chocho version of Spica. Like, Mirits is like kind of like a Spica. This card is like almost exactly like a Spica, except you probably want to attack with something else first, then attack with Ayana, and maybe like some skill goes off and sends a card to the bottom of the deck. Then you can put Ayana back and then draw a card and then, you know, play a card. So pretty good. Then we have 4 Chocho Suguri. So what Suguri does is it has 2 abilities. The first one is when this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you can counterblast 1 and choose another Chocho rearguard and put it on the bottom of your deck. If you do, you draw a card. So it's a simple on hit and says, you know, get rid of a card, draw a card. It's kind of like the equivalent to in the Luard deck, it's called Drag Wizard Usius, I think it is. Where it has like an on hit, but like Usius retires 1 on hit and draws a card. So you see like a lot of parallels between the Luard deck and this deck. It's very like similar. Then its second ability is when your other rearguard is put into the deck during your turn, you can choose one of your units and it gets plus 4,000 power until the end of the turn. So not only can you add 4,000 power to itself, or not only can you add 4,000 power, but you can choose wherever it goes. Because usually a card like this would say give 4,000 power to itself, not like anything. So you can pump up any of your columns that need the pump. And yeah, pretty good. Then we run 2 Shandis, basically the stride fodder for Bermuda Triangle, pretty self-explanatory. Then we run 4 Chocho Tina. Sorry about that, guys. I forgot that my mic turns off when there's like no sound. This is really stupid. But we do run 4 Chocho Tino. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's the Japanese name or if that's also the English name. But yeah, we run 4 Chocho Tino. Chocho Tino is the new Chocho PG that they've been given from this set. What it does is its first attack is the regular PG, drop a card, and cannot be hit. And it also guards any unit, so that is important to note. You can PG rearguards with this PG. And then from the drop zone, It has an ability when your rear guard is put into the deck during your turn, you can counterblast 1, put a Chochotino from your drop zone into the bottom of your deck, and then you can add this card to your hand. So it's kind of like the Ezra's PG, except not as free, because you do have to counterblast 1. Like, if it didn't have to counterblast 1, oh my god, this PG would be so good. Like, it'd be ridiculous. It'd be like a little mini Luard deck, so I guess that's why they didn't do it, because they realized their mistakes on cards that are pretty much already out. Moving on, we have 4 Chocho Kleins. This is the Abyssal Owl clone of the deck, what helps you find your main grade 3 usually. So what Chocho Kleins does is when it's placed on the rearguard circle from your hand, you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck and reveal 1 card with Tirawa in its name, put into your hand and shuffle your deck. Then if you put a card into your hand, choose 1 or more cards with the sum of their grades being 3 or greater from your hand and discard them. So basically, like, you want to look at top 7, get a Tirawa, and then discard a grade 3 or discard a 2 and a 1 or 3 1s or something, like, I guess whatever it takes to fulfill the skill. Then it has its second ability, which is at the end of your turn, if your Vanguard's name is Tirawa, then you can Soul Blast 1, put this unit on the bottom, and countercharge 1. That's going to be very important as you guys see how this deck is played, because countercharging is very, very important in this deck, because this deck goes through tons of counterblasts. Then we have 4 Chocho Male or Mal, something like that. I'll just say Male. So Chocho Male, what it does is you can counterblast 1 and put one of your rearguards named Chocho on the bottom of the deck at the end of the battle that this unit boosted a Vanguard with Chocho in its name. Then you draw a card and you choose 1 card from your hand and call it to rearguard circle. So this is kind of like a weaker version of Chocho Ayana, and then like a little bit. It's still a weaker version of Mirits too, in my opinion. So they have like Male, Mirits, and Ayana, which all kind of do similar things, except Male's weaker than the rest. Then we have 1 Chocho Flera. I'm pretty sure this is not the English name for it, but I cannot remember the English name right now. But what Chocho Flera does is it is our starter for the Chocho deck, and when another rearguard is put into our deck, we can put this unit into our soul, and then we can choose 2 cards with Chocho in its name from our hand, and then call those cards a separate rearguard circle in the same column. So they do have to be called like in the front row and the back row in the same column. So beware of that. Then we run 4 Chocho Sarah. So what Chocho Sarah does is at the end of the battle that your Vanguard attacks, this is basically like a version of all the crit triggers that shove themselves into Soul and give 5,000 to your Vanguard. But instead, what this card does is at the end of the battle that your Vanguard with Chocho attacked, you can counterblast 1, put this unit into the Soul. If you do, you draw a card, and then you can choose a Chocho and its card name, or you can choose a Chocho card from your hand and call it to rearguard circle, and that unit gets plus 5,000 power. So it adds the 5,000 to your rearguard that's called after the Vanguard attack. So pretty solid in that respect. Like, helps you build Soul. It does cost a counterblast, which sucks at times, but you know what in this deck doesn't cost a counterblast? Like I said, this deck's very counterblast heavy. Then we do run 4 Chocho Yeta. This is just a vanilla heal trigger for Chocho, but it is important that it has a Chocho name. Then we have 4 draw triggers. Chocho Pite is basically a Fundy clone or a Margot clone, however you would like to call it. Gives 3k to one of your units for the cost of putting this card into the Soul. Then we have 4 Chocho Reshell to keep up our Chocho name base deck. Moving on to the G Zone, we have 4 Chocho Headliner Lapria. So this is like one of the new strides that Bermuda got in the set in general. But I feel like every like archetype in this clan booster or the Prismatic Diva set, like every single archetype within Bermuda kind of got their own version of Olivia. So it's pretty good. Like what Lapria does is when this unit attacks, you can counterblast 1 and choose a Lapria from your G-Zone and turn it face up. Then if you do, you get to choose 2 of your rearguards for every face-up card in the G-Zone, put them on the bottom of your deck. So basically, if you have 1 card face-up in the G-Zone, like if it's just Lapria face-up in the G-Zone, then you get to put back 2, up to 2. Then if you have 2 face-up in the G-Zone, you can do up to 4. And if you have 3 or more face-up in the G-Zone, you can return all the cards, all the rear guards on your field, up to 5. So then you draw the same number of the cards that you put back to the bottom of your deck. And then if you have a heart card with Chouchou in his name, you get to draw an extra card. And then if you drew 4 or more cards in total, including the extra one that you drew, you get to choose up to 5 cards from your hand and call them to separate rearguard circles. So this card's very solid. It allows you to attack with a column, and then attack with Lapria and put back your whole field and then call back a new field. And also like serves doubly in putting triggers back and stuff like that. So pretty good. We have 2 Perfect Performance Angie. What Perfect Performance Angie does is it gets us out of the Link Joker matchup, easy peasy. It also has, it's through its skill, but it also, against normal decks, will pressure them, having, like, you know, quad drive and extra drive check, or quad drive, it draws a card, and it's very huge power. So in Generation Break 2, Counterblast 2, and turn any card face up in your G-Zone. Then you can choose any number of cards on any number of, on any fighter's circle other than Vanguard circle and return them to your hand. This unit gets plus 5,000 for every return unit until the end of the turn. And if you drew 5 or more cards, you get to draw a card. And if you return 7 or more cards, this unit gets plus 1 drive check until the end of the turn. So what ends up happening is, if you have like a full locked board from Link Joker, like since it says cards and not units, you can just bounce the cards to your hand and recall them as unlocked. So pretty good. Like, it just resets Link Joker's lock. Like, it's pretty good. That's one of the only reasons that we run it, to be honest. Like, because Link Joker kind of screws this deck if we don't run Angie. Other than that, like, it's just another pressure card. But if we're gonna go into a main pressure card, we're probably gonna go into Lapria. Then we have 2 Chouchou Lilienelle. So Chouchou Lilienelle is really good to me, except for the fact that it's an on-hit, so your opponent can prevent you from doing it. What this on-hit is when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you get to choose one of your rear guards, and then you can return it to your hand, number 1, or return it to the bottom of your deck, number 2. And if you chose option number 2, then you get to draw 2 cards. So it's basically like kind of like a pot of greed. Like, I really like that card. Then we have 2 School Etoile. I have no idea how to pronounce this word, but basically Olivia, 2 Olivia. So what Olivia does is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if the number of cards in your G-Zone is 1 or more, basically it's a Generation Break 2 ability, then you can Counterblast 1 and flip an Olivia in your G-Zone face up. Then if you do, you get to choose up to 5 of your rear guards, and then if all of the units that are chosen have different names, you get to return them to your hand. Then if the number of returned cards is 3 or more, choose up to 2 cards from your hand, call 1 to the front row and 1 to the back row, and this unit gets plus 1 critical until the end of the battle. So pretty good, allows you multi-attacks just like Lapria does. It's just like an older version of doing it. Then we run 2 Festal Finale, Final Priscilla. So this is the GB8 for Bermudas. It's kind of weak on its own for a GB8, so that's why we run 2, because sometimes when we go into the GB8, like 1 GB8 is not enough to kill them. So what it does is at the end of the battle that it attacked a Vanguard, you can discard a card, and if you do, you return all your rear guards to your hand, then choose up to 5 cards from your rear guard, or choose 5 cards from your hand, call them to the rear guard circle, and then they get plus 5,000 power. So makes your columns kind of strong. It definitely gives you multi-attacks like the Bermuda way, and yeah, helps you finish out the game at times. Then for our G Guardians, we only run 4. We have 1 Best Sparkle Sandy. So what Sandy does is when she's placed on the guard circle, you get to flip a G Guardian face up in your G-Zone. Then if you do, this unit gets plus 5,000 shield for every 2 cards in your hand until the end of the battle. Then you may Counterblast 1, and if you do, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. So this is one of the strongest G Guards as far as defense in the game, because it can get up to really big numbers depending on what your hand is, and in Chouchou, your hand's usually pretty big. So if you need to guard like a big attack, this helps for that. We do run 2 Chouchou Engage Lead Platy. What Platy does is you Soul Blast 1 and choose a rear guard with Chouchou in its name, put it to the bottom of your deck when this card's placed on the guard circle. And if you do, you get to draw a card, and this unit becomes 31k shield. So pretty solid as well. Helps you clear out your field and draw cards so that you're prepared to use Tyros on Stride skill for free. So pretty good in that respect. Then we have one Hand-in-Hand Leona as our last G-Guardian, and Hand-in-Hand Leona's skill is when the student is placed on Guardian Circle. When the student is placed on Guardian Circle, you may choose one of your rear guards and return it to your hand. If you return a unit to your hand, you get to choose a card from your hand, call it to Guard Circle, and if that unit has the same name as the card that was originally returned to your hand, then that unit gets plus 5,000 shield. So what can happen is you play Leona, you bounce a 5k to your hand, and you call that 5k to the Guardian Circle, and now it's a 10k guard, and it's a 36k shield, usually. So yeah, that was it for the deck, and then let's get right into the playtest here. Waiting on our Cardfight area to open. Alright, so we're going to load our replay Chouchou 1. So it seems like we're playing against like a Vortimer like ride chain like updated with Stride Zone, so pretty interesting to come across this, honestly, and it almost beat me, so it was pretty interesting indeed. Like, I start out and I ride to grade 1. I'm not too like pleased with my hand, honestly, because I don't have my main grade 3. That's like the only thing we're missing, but I do check it as my drive check for the grade 2, so we are good there. He does ride the grade 2 Vortimer and call 2 cards off the top of his deck for basically free. So that was pretty good. And then he doesn't check a trigger. Luckily for me, he didn't check more triggers in the early game because I probably would have died. But I do check a crit and a draw trigger there as I'm talking about that. So off of Vortimer, he gets a crit, or he gets a draw trigger and a heal, which kind of sucks, like, to be honest. Like, he could have gotten better cards. But I guess it was just, like, you know, luck of the draw. I do no guard his on-hit Vanguard. He does do crit to his Vanguard, power to his rear guard, and then he looks at top 3 so that he can call a card and it gets power. Then he attacks for 11, we block him, and then he attacks and does Quill skill to call more cards, and then he attacks us for his final 15. So he attacked us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So pretty good. And then since I was able to G-Guard, I am GB1, so I stride for free. I do Tiro's skill to look at the top card in Suguri, so I put my starter back to my deck and draw a new card, which is a PG, so pretty good. I played 2 Mirrets, Crit Trigger, and a Tino for my hand. We go into battle phase here, attacking for 15. Then I attack with the other Mirret, calling Suguri. And then it's 17 to his Vanguard. Then I attack for 13. And then we attack for 26 using Lapria's skill to counterboss 1 flip. And then we draw 5 cards because we put 4 back. And then we get to call 2 cards. So I don't know why I ended up calling that Male behind Vanguard. I think because I was planning on using it the next turn. But we do check a crit. We do crit to Vanguard. He does check a crit trigger as well. We attack his rear guard, and then we attack his Vanguard, and he's forced to guard. So he does stride here into the old Gurgwit stride. So he almost kills me with this because I didn't realize like how much unflip counterblast and soul he had. So he was pretty much building up to this one moment, and he used Gurgwit twice so that he can give his Vanguard 50k and then give each one of the rear guards 10,000. So they were really, really strong as is. He attacks us for 89. Thankfully, we have a heal or a PG. He checks 1, checks 2, and then checks 3. No triggers again. We're pretty lucky that he didn't get any triggers there because we could have been like in some kind of real danger. He does attack for 36, and then we PG that as well. And then he attacks us for 28, and we G-Guard with Chouchou Plady, Soul Blasting 1 to put a card at bottom and draw 1. We draw a Stride Fighter, so that's pretty ironic, I guess, because we didn't really need it. But I choose to use Chouchou Tira skill to reveal the top card and get a card, and then put a card to the bottom and get a card. So we're using Blanche right now to Soul Blast 1 and put a unit to the bottom and look at top 4, I believe, and get some. So then I just play all these random cards of the field because I don't want them in my hand, and I want my hand reset in case he survives. So that is what we did exactly. So I attack with Tirua, and we draw 6 cards because we put back 5. I do call Blanche, and I forget to use Blanche. That would have been very helpful. It also would have been helpful for me to put the starter down because I could have gotten an extra attack in. But instead he just PGs, and he's left with 1 card in his hand. And then we don't check the trigger. So he attacks for 16, and 10 is enough to guard. So he's not able to stride upon riding, so he attacks us for 18, then 14. I intercept and guard for a 2 to pass. He does not get the 2 to pass, and then he attacks with Duke, and we no pass him with a 5k. Then we stride into Olivia. We attack his rear guard for 9. Then we attack with Mirich. So he no guarded here, but he, I guess, forgot to take the damage. So he does take the damage and does not 6 damage heal. So that is game 1 of our, I think we recorded 4 games for the Chouchou deck, if I'm not mistaken. So getting right into game 2 here. Chouchou 2. Seems like this game we were playing against Narukami, the new Narukami from GBT12. As you guys know, I've played against it more than enough times on area, so not even surprised anymore. We do ride to grade 1, and you know, we just started attacking him as normal. He does put down Chatura, which always makes me sad when they have Chatura right off the bat, and this guy was super lucky. But also, I was lucky that I didn't give him another counterblast. I probably should have attacked into Chatura there, but I just thought that he would have another one for some reason. He does ride into Sparking and attack Chatura, or attack with Chatura, and then he drive checks, and then he gets the Chatura. So if my doubts were anything, they were confirmed right there. We do go into Lillian now here, putting a card to hand and putting a card to hand. Then we just attack him for 30. Thinking that he will take it, but he does not take it, and he guards a Vitra. And that's 26 so far, which is still passing, and then 36, which is 2 to pass. And I get a heal trigger, and a heal trigger, and a heal, and I get a crit. So he was, I guess, wrong in blocking that. And then I Chouchou Lilin now, put a card to the bottom, and I draw 2. So I'm in a pretty advantageous situation right now, honestly, because of that double heal. So he uses his starter skill, Hard Ride, or Hard Rod, to make me bind one of my cards from my drop zone. And then he's using V-Buster skill. Yeah, he's using V-Buster skill. He gave 3k to units and also made me bind one. I'm able to no guard his Vanguard, and he gets another stand trigger and a heal. So I knew that I couldn't pressure him as much as I wanted to in the coming turn, which I was pretty sad about. But you know, it is what it is. People get lucky. I can't talk after just getting having got a double heal that went off. So we go into Chouchou Lapria for the free stride. We use the on stride skill. And then we look at top 7 with Kleins. Then I go for a second Kleins right here. And then I play another Male and a heal. And he goes into the new G Guardian. That will make me bind one, basically. And he thought that it worked as a way that it doesn't. Like, it does a double check timing for this. So, you know, after the second check timing, I no longer have more than 4 rear guards than him. So, that is important to note. Also important to note here, we didn't use Blanche for Whatever reason that was, I kind of forgot. Yeah, so we're attacking with Lapria. He does PG, and we check 3 cards. One of them is a draw trigger. Not really helpful, but it is what it is. Then we attack for 18. And then we attack for 25. And then at the end of the turn, we Soul Blast 1, put it to the bottom, and countercharge. Our opponent activates Thunderstrike 4, makes us bind a card, and I believe he countercharges a card. He uses the on-stride skill to make me bind a card from my drop zone and my field. Then he uses V-Buster to do the exact same thing, make me bind one from my drop and my field. He does attack for 19, we guard that, and then he attacks for 29, we PG that. And he gets another stand trigger. I'm like, oh my god, all the stands. I cannot. But we did have to G-guard just because I didn't want my PG getting sniped by a Shatura, so we do free stride into Lapria again, checking the top card and grabbing it. So we play a bunch of cards out into the field, and we are trying to go with the Lapria strategy of finishing him out. So we do attack for 16. He does guard it with a 10, and then we attack for 26. So we put all of our cards back and draw 6. Unfortunately, we draw like literally nearly all triggers. So that triggered me right there. We also use Chochotina to get a card to the bottom. So we're attacking for 26 to his Vanguard. If we had gotten a better field, like we could have probably forced more out of his hand, but like not in the current position that we were in. So he's using the Thunderstrike 4, making us bind again. Pretty solid strategy. Is like by far not a bad strategy. He does go into the GB8 here and makes us bind everything. Like, I'm pretty happy about it because I saved my Tinos from danger, which are my PGs, and then I also have PGs and 2 G guards in my hand, so. Safe to say I'm not too worried. And I have an extra pity damage that I could take. So he checks a crit, a stand, and a crit on the dry check, like, even more so continuing his luck, which I was like, what is going on? So we G-guard with, we use our Sandy to flip a G-guard. And then that ends up being enough with us to throw down a 10. And then also I guarded the other rear guard. We free stride into the GB8. We look at top 7, and none of them is a Tirua, so we put all the cards back. And then we just make random bad columns. So we attack his Interceptor because that's equivalent to getting 5k shield out of him. He attacks us for 11. Or sorry, we attack him for 11 and then we PG. We check no triggers, absolutely none. And then we discard and we call cards that will gain plus 10 as a column, plus 10. So then we attack him for 22. He does G-guard. And get rid of our card with the G-Guardian, and then we attack him for 26. And he top decks to stride. So I was like, oh man, the tilt. So he goes into VMAX here. There's literally a way that I could have avoided VMAX, which was with the other G-Guardian that's in Bermuda. I just don't run it. And I don't run Dismal in this build, so I had absolutely no way to get around it. Like, it was pretty sad, actually. So he checks 3 cards. One of them is, of course, the stand trigger, but it doesn't matter because we lost that one anyways. So we end up losing that one anyways. Our opponent was pretty much like a stand trigger god, and that hurt really bad. But you live and you learn. Am I right, guys? So we're going with the Chouchou 3 game here. Seems like this time we're playing against another Gold Paladin deck. Like, Gold Paladin's been getting like a lot of like players on the on Cardfight areas like lobby, and I don't know why. Is it because like people are preparing for like new Gurguit, like by refreshing themselves with the deck, or trying to build it for locals, or something like that? Like, I don't really know what's going on. But yeah, our opponent drive checked the card and then went back, shuffled, and I don't know. This is a weird occurrence that just happened there. So yeah, he no guarded the rear guard, and I didn't drive check. He attacked Vanguard, and I 10k no passed him, and then he attacked me for 10k like passing. So we balanced each other out pretty much. I attack him for 18. We get a draw trigger, which is going to help in the coming turns with our kind of weird hand. He goes into Gurguit and strides. Or actually, he doesn't stride. He just chooses to attack. Oh my, I forgot about this game. So he chose to not attack. We use Chouchou Platy's skill to get us to GB1. Then we GB1 stride for free into Lapria. We don't use the on-stride skill. However, we do check top 7 for Turua. And then we play 2 triggers, and this is what I was talking about when I was going over the deck, about how you can just return triggers to your deck like willy-nilly as long as you're, you know, fine about it. Like, so we attack with Chouchou Lapria, we send all those cards back, and then we get to make a brand new column. We do check a heal trigger. And so he chose to take both of our damage. And he does not have a way to stride here. So if I'm not mistaken, I think he quit right here. Let's give it like a couple more seconds, and yeah, he definitely quit right here. I usually make a note to myself, but I think when I was playtesting that one particular time, I did not make a note to myself. But he would have had to stride with 3 cards in his hand, and then we probably would have beat him up. But just in case, because we never know the outcome of that game, I'm going to show you guys one more game. So Chouchou 4. We're actually playing against Shadow Paladin this time. So I pick heads, he picks tails. He gets it, he goes first. We ride, and we actually have like a pretty decent hand, honestly. So he rides a 10k vanilla, we guard with our own 10k. He does heal out of our damage, which kind of sucks, but we play the rush game back, and we're just attacking, hoping that we get through. So he does attack Vanguard with Claret Sword, and I heal. And we were both like, oh my goodness, the heals. So I attack him with Suguri, then I attack him with Lillian now. We do crit power and then crit power. So I sacked him pretty hard because I double crit him. He does G-guard my final attack with what is a reprinted version of Ludwig, seems like. Skill of Claret Sword. Helmheim, he's getting a grade 1 to his hand and a grade 1 to his field. Or sorry, not Helheim, that was Revolt. So he's going into battle phase. We choose to no guard, considering that if we PG no guard or G guard, he'll still get the skill. So he does check a draw trigger during his turn, but honestly, that's not even that threatening. He attacks us for 26 and then attacks us for 30, and we do not guard it. Then we go into Lapria, counterboss 1, add PG to our hand. Then we put our grade 3 to the bottom and draw a card. Suguri gets plus 3k. We go for Klein's top 7 again, which whiffs, but pretty much we're just using it at this point to shuffle, because that's what Klein. Ooh, sorry guys. That's what Klein's is really good for. But we attack for 9k to Glossne. Then we attack for 20k to Vanguard. He takes it and gets a crit trigger. and then we attack him with Lapria. We put back all 4 of our cards. Oh, yeah. So we put back 4 cards. So we drive check, we get a Blanche and an Iana and another Iana, which kind of sucked, but it is what it is. So our opponent goes into Dragstrider Luard here and uses the Claret Sword skill to check the top until he gets some grade 1s. And then he sets up his formation to attack, and then I think right here he realized that he's not Ritual 7. He's only Ritual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he was only Ritual 5 and not Ritual 7. So then he just quit the game, I guess, when he realized that he couldn't efficiently Dragstrider me. Next turn, to be fair, I was going to attack him a bunch of times because I do see the Ianas in our hand. Clearly, we have a Chouchou Lapria left, and so I think we were going to win that one. But our opponent did quit, so we weren't able to get any more like actual games of that Chouchou deck. But yeah, that has been all the matches for Chouchou. Sorry if it ended on kind of like an awkward note for you guys with like the leaving the match, but like honestly, like I can't control when people leave the match or not. So that's the only thing that sucks about Area. Like it doesn't penalize for leaving at all. And some could argue that it shouldn't, but yeah, that has been the Chouchou deck. I hope you guys enjoyed the Future Fight on Chouchou. If you guys liked it, leave me a like and a comment down below letting me know what you thought. Make sure to follow us on our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. For those of you who are part of my Patreon, thank you so much for donating, and thank you for being a part of my Discord community. Like, we're really getting up there and pumping out like the good community, being able to talk to each other and stuff like that. But with that being said, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire. You guys just watch the Future Fight and have a great day.